Hi everyone, welcome to Challenge the Road. I thought I'd do something different. I've had a lot of questions this weekend around the future of cars. A lot of friends have said to me, Richard, why are you buying the older cars? Why aren't you buying electric cars? And I wanted to go through that with you tonight and just see what you think. Now, I put together 3 questions really about it, and then I'm going to bring up some different slides and bits in the video that you can have a look too. So the first one is electric the future? The second one, hybrid cars. And the third one, what's going to happen to these classic and older cars? So I'm going to run through that with you. Now, a lot of people have said to me, well, why are you buying cars that are going to be redundant in the future? Well, I am, and I'll tell you why, and we'll go through that. But the first thing was electric cars. Now, I'm looking that electric cars are now becoming more expensive. I had an electric car myself. I haven't got one now. I've gone back to hybrid. But let's look at some of the costs. So if your petrol car averages 40 miles per gallon, it's costing you about 18p a mile. So 1,000 miles is £180. An electric car at 50p per kilowatt is around £100 per 1,000 miles. So still quite a bit. Obviously, it can be less than that on different tariffs and off-peak rates. Then it's going to cost you about £800 for a fast charger. So really, your first year, I don't think there's that much of an actual saving. And obviously, you're going to pay a lot more for the car. Now, I think the electric car is just down to how you use the car. Like if it's lots of short trips, you're not worried about driving every day. Yes, I think that's a very good option. But solar, if you have a solar network and you can plug into that at home, that will give you obviously a very cheap rate of charging because you would have already paid for the solar, or you may be paying for the solar monthly. But I see that's really where it works. But I don't think it works long term. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'll tell you the alternatives as well and what I'm doing. So for me, hybrid is the best solution. So I get like 30 miles of EV. I can run that car everywhere at the moment. I'm very, very happy. It cost me about £100 in fuel. That's the best solution. So if you're looking for a car, go for a hybrid. You want that. You have no anxiety worries. I mean, I had terrible anxiety with that electric car. I mean, almost 4 times I run out of power. I don't believe it's the future. I believe hybrids are really, really good. Now, the other thing I have had is lots of little power cuts, which have led to me going out and the car hasn't charged at all. Now, if I had a full electric car, I'd be really annoyed because sometimes I'd run right down and then thought, well, I'll get the 30 miles in the morning and it's not there. Now, I assume what happens is you have a little power cut and it just knocks the charge in. I reckon that's happened over 10 times in 3 months. So for me, I've still got the petrol back up and I'll just use that and I'm happy. Now, hybrid, I'd love it to be 50 to 70 miles. I know the BMW X5 does 50 miles and the new Range Rover does 70. I think that's a real sweet spot. But also there's a lot of Q5s or even, just normal hybrids. I was looking at some of the Mitsubishis, the older ones, Outlanders, things like that you can get that are hybrid, going to future-proof you. And I think are the best cars. Now, the question was classic cars, all the older cars I'm buying. Someone said to me, Richard, why are you buying them when they're going to be defunct? They won't be there anymore. Now, they will be there. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. I knew a few years ago Porsche were working on different fuels, but there's a recent article in Evo magazine about sustainable fuels. So I'm going to go into that now. I'm going to bring it up and I'll bring it up on the screen and we'll just have a little talk about it. Now, this is synthetic fuel against regular unleaded. Now, they've done a journey with 2, look like MX-5s on here. Now, one of the key things was there any performance difference? They're saying no. I've got every Evo magazine here. I love Evo magazine. So these guys are the best of the best in that field. They said no performance effect on the car. And this fuel was run at Goodwood. Remember, in the race cars, 102 RON, they run them all in that during Goodwood, which is fantastic. Now, where it gets interesting is that this fuel, synthetic fuel, was actually better MPG by about 10%. So they were getting 40 MPG in the petrol and 44 with the ethanol. Now, where this comes from, so ethanol is biomass such as agricultural waste, hugs from sugar beet are one example. You can make ethanol from any material that can be fermented. So basically, it becomes a hydrocarbon liquid that can be used. Now, it says the fuel that we're using today contains 10% ethanol, which is simply achieved by putting the original raw ethanol back into the fuel. The ethanol is added for cost reasons and to get the performance required from the fuel. So we've already got ethanol in the fuel. Now, going through this article a bit more, the last sentences are really the key. The doubters will wonder if sustainable fuel will ever take off and whether we'll be able to buy it from regular service stations. I'm confident on both counts because eventually the government is going to have to wake up to the reality of there being millions of internal combustion engines still on the road. Meanwhile, don't rush to replace the Metzer engine in your 911 with an electric motor and heavy batteries because a solution could well be on its way. Well, it is on its way. Now, we go back a bit because I've got some notes here on. So I've watched quite a lot of videos on this over the last couple of years, but there's a product called Sustain Fuels, which is being used. Now, at the moment, that is £5 per gallon, so quite a bit. We're obviously around £1.50. Race cars are using it. 102 RON is what they use, so it's brilliant for my rally cars. Got that forever now. But I had a little look at how they're going to provide this fuel. Now, it's £5 because obviously not many people are buying it. But as more people buy it, this will go down. And I reckon it'll get down to that £1.50 a gallon. Now, they're talking about garden centres, which is really interesting, actually. So garden centres will be the places and sites that you buy the fuel, which I think is great. Because if you're going out at the weekend, sometimes you go to the garden centre, you might eat there, buy some plants, whatever. It's quite clever, this. So I think that fuel is going to go to garden centres and make a real difference to people. Now, conclusion to this, because I want to keep this quite a short, because I've watched probably hours of videos on this, and I want to keep it condensed for you. Now, conclusion, electric, I feel, has its place. It wouldn't be for me at the moment. I think you need to be in the right area, easy to charge, happy sometimes maybe not to drive or not to go a long way. Hybrid, 100%. I would go down that route. I really like hybrid. We've used it here for 2 or 3 years. We've had different cars on that. I would go hybrid. And the technology is getting better and then miles are getting longer on the EV. Classic cars, I've just got a feeling they're going to go up again. I think them V12 Lamborghinis, things like that are going to go up because if this fuel coming in, if you've bought a Lamborghini and it comes down to £2 a gallon, do you really care? You're only going to use it at weekends. You're going to drive around, you've got all that power, all that noise, all that Lamborghini-ness, and you've got virtually zero emission. Zero. So I think these cars are going to start, and I am seeing that. Lamborghini SVJ, biggest V12, gone up 100,000 in a year. So also, the classic cars, it's fantastic. Imagine all the events you can go to with these cars now, not worrying, not thinking you're polluting. So I think car events are going to go like this. Cars and coffee events, all the events we're doing are going to go like that. They're not going to be like dinosaur events where no one's going to attend, or the next ones are going to be we'll all have electric cars. It's not going to happen because this fuel is there now. Now, anything coming to end of production now, because they're obviously, the government are forcing us to have electric cars. I think it's 2030, no more petrol cars. So I think we're absolutely peak on these cars. So 911s, all that, I think they're going to start going like this because everyone's going to know they're going to finish them. Now, what will happen with values? I've got that as my last thing. I said I think that they will stay the same or increase, but these cars are not going in the skip. There is a solution there. I'll put that Evo article there. You can have a look, but there's lots of films I've watched. I'll try and publish a bit more for you on the video. But absolutely, our cars are going to stay. And you've got the option now of going to a car you really liked, maybe Focus RS or anything in that era you liked, and you're going to have an option there. Whereas probably you were thinking, oh, if I buy that car, oh, everyone's going to go electric, so it's redundant. It's not going to be. Okay, you might have to pay a little bit more for your fuel, but you're going to be more efficient than the guy in the electric car who's bought it for 80 grand odd. It's had to be shipped over. He's got all these batteries in it. So actually, you're the one who's got the better CO2. You could be in a V12 Lamborghini driving around in a better position than someone in a Tesla. So that's a quick video. Hope that comes across well and you understand that. And I look forward to doing more for you soon. Thank you.